Want to know how to get the same cell coverage for up to half the cost? Well, instead of spending a fortune building and maintaining their own cell phone towers, Consumer Cellular just pays to use the same towers as the largest carriers and passes the savings on to you. Pretty smart, huh? Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
Time for the Joy Business Report. In our headlines, household spending set to reach 107.8 billion cedis this year, but high inflation to weigh on real purchasing power for many consumers. We'll hear a report from Fitch Solutions. Also, government exceeds Treasury bills target by over 13% to the tune of 2.94 billion cedis, but interest rates continue to surge. Now, meanwhile, banks express concerns about rising Treasury bill rates and its impact on loan recovery. And also, the Ghana Revenue Authority warns clearing agents over declaration of false documents to evade custom duty. I am Amesi Nyamiche Thompson. Details and now. Household spending is set to reach 107.8 billion cedis this year, higher than the 101.9 billion cedis posted in 2019. According to Fitch Solutions' latest report, Ghana Consumer Outlook, spending will expand to 112.1 billion cedis this year. Nonetheless, it said a stubbornly high level of inflation and fiscal consolidation policies will weigh on real purchasing power for many consumers in Ghana. Let's now hear the details in this report.
The UK-based firm said interest rate hikes are pushing up household debt repayment costs, whilst the depreciating cedi is making consumer goods imports more expensive. It argued that the high levels of inflation, slower economic growth, rising levels of dissatisfaction with government policy, and interest rate hikes are all contributing to a downbeat Ghanaian consumer. The report furthered that inflationary pressures remain elevated in many markets. While the rate of price changes are slowing, they remain higher than central banks' targets and higher than what consumers have grown accustomed to, especially over the past decade. Fitch Solutions stressed that the impact will not be spread evenly across the different consumer spending segments, with the prices of some components such as rent, services, and some food items remaining stickier and elevated over half year 2023. It continued that if nominal wages cannot keep up with these high rates of inflation, consumers will continue to see erosions in their purchasing power.
And that was a Business Desk report. Now, commercial banks have expressed concern about the rising Treasury bill rates and its impact on the cost of credit. The rates, which were hovering around 18% post first round of the domestic debt exchange program, have reached over 30%. But the banks say they are worried about the impact on loan recovery. John Ewa is the chief executive of the Ghana Association of Banks.
When market rates move into 30s and the 40s, which company or an individual house will be able to borrow at that rate and make good on the repayment? It becomes a problem. It has implications for non-performing the quality of the asset book of the banks. And as banks, one loan gone bad is one loan too many, because you are not just losing the interest that you would have perhaps taken over a period, you are losing the interest plus the principal. And if you give 10 loans and one goes bad, it wipes off all the benefit of the other 9.
John Ewa is chief executive of the Ghana Association of Banks. Government exceeded its Treasury bills target by over 13% to the tune of 2.94 billion cedis, but interest rates continue to surge disturbingly. According to the latest auction by the Bank of Ghana, interest rates reached almost 32%. Let's hear more in this report.
The target for this auction was 2.60 billion cedis, but a bids tendered were 2.94 billion cedis. About 2.90 billion cedis were accepted. Majority of the bids came from the 91D bill, in which about 2.206 billion cedis were tendered. However, the government accepted 2.202 billion cedis. For the 182-day bill, a little above 322 million cedis were offered, but the government accepted 289.19 million cedis. With regards to the one-year bill, all the bids worth 415.78 million cedis tendered were accepted. Meanwhile, the interest rate on the 3-month bill jumped to 27.78% from 27.36% the previous week. VAT of the 6-month bill went up by 0.40%. The 364-day yield also set to 31.97% from the past week's 31.65%.
Former finance ministers welcomed the successful completion of the domestic debt exchange program, but warns government not to default in interest payments going forward. Government last week announced the settlement of an alternative offer to pension fund bondholders. Before then, it also announced the results of its successful US dollar-dominated bonds exchange and the cocoa bills debt exchange. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Tekba said the government must make progress with the external debt exchange before the second review of the IMF program. He advised the government to tackle all the challenges ahead.
By the time of the review, we should be making progress on the second leg, which is the external debt exchange. So to put the domestic debt exchange behind us, it's a good thing. But remember, it doesn't promise our ability to pay any interest that would agree and to pay any principal that would be paid, going forward. That's why one is waiting for the review, because the mid-year budget is going to see what the World Bank, African Development Bank, and others are going to bring on board.
He had thoughts of former finance minister Seth Tekbe. Now, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority is warning clearing agents at the ports to desist from the use of false documents with the aim of helping importers to evade duty at the port. The warning follows an intelligence in February on some 2 companies and importers that had falsified trade documents on their bills of lading and clearing goods from the Tema port. Commissioner for Customs Alhaji Idrisu Seidu Idisa warns that persons involved in such practices shall be made to face the law.
And we are currently investigating both the shipping lines and agents and importers to find out the degree of collaboration or connivance that took place. Because if at least one, in some instances, we saw an agent putting the writing and deceiving the importer plus the government, it means that there is some collaboration between those agents and the shipping line who have admitted that they have done that. We are equally expanding the investigation to cover 6 years earlier, because we have realized that, and other companies, because it may not be the only companies who are doing that. And there's a possibility of prosecuting all those involved. And we want to give a warning to everybody that you cannot hide. Whatever happens, it will come out.
Alhaji Idrisu Seidu Idisa is the Commissioner of Customs. President Akufo-Addo says it is time for cocoa farmers to benefit from the commodity. According to him, farmers deserve to be rewarded for their hard work. The president disclosed this when he announced the increase of prices for farmers by 63.6% for the 2023-2024 crop season at Tepa in the Ahafo region. By this, a ton of cocoa will be selling at 20,943 cedis, 84 pesos, while a bag of 64 kilograms will sell at 1,308 cedis.
The government, in keeping with our promise to our gallant cocoa farmers, has today increased cocoa prices from 12,800 cedis per ton to 20,943 cedis per ton, or 1,308 cedis per bag.
You heard President Akufo-Addo. Now, some rural banks have expressed concern over the slow recovery of loans due to the current economic challenges and the domestic debt restructuring. This, they say, is affecting their operations and may lead to a spike in non-performing loans this year. According to the board chairman of Fisiaman Rural Bank, Dr. Anthony Sapong, this will largely affect the performance of these banks in achieving profitability. He spoke to Joy Business at the Chartered Institute of Credit Management Ghana Credit Excellence Awards.
Well, there are a lot of concern, knowing very well that with all the happenings, it's almost always difficult to chase for people to pay loans and the like, and we had to put in more. That means that you would have to spend a bit more in following up on people, try to run out on people so as to reduce whatever issues there is, so as to reduce your loss levels. And so, yes, that has been the major challenge for us.
Dr. Anthony Sapon is the board chairman of Isiaman Rural Bank. Now let's head to the stock market, where Evelyn Lavie of Databank Research tells us how your stock will fare this week on the Ghana Stock Exchange.
The stock market closed last Friday on a positive note, driven by 4 gainers on the exchange. As a result, the Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index advanced by 0.67% week on week to a year-to-date return of 25.7%. While the Data Bank Stock Index rose by 0.7% week on week to record a year-to-date return of 16.3%. On price movements, Fan Milk topped the gainers list, appreciating by 80 pesos to close the week at 2 cedis 18 pesos, followed by Unilever Ghana, Standard Chartered Bank, and Guinness Ghana gaining 70 pesos, 65 pesos, and 17 pesos to end the week at 8.1 cedis, 17.3 cedis, 2.69 cedis respectively. Looking ahead into this week, we expect Guinness Ghana and Farm Milk to make more gains due to increased demand on these counters. For Joy Business Reports, Evelyn Lavie of Databank Research.
And now to the currency market. The cedi opened this week going for 11 cedis, 54 pesos against the US dollar. On the Forex